Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today I am so excited to share with you 5 simple high-end decor DIY dupes, each costing no more than $5 to make. This is part of the 5 under 5 dupe collab, and I will get more into that later. So let's get started. Kirkland's sells these beautiful glass bottle basin crate, and I wanted to create my version of it. So for this DIY, I'm going to be using 2 of these Whitewood, which I trimmed to 14 inches. They came in a pack of 10 from my local Home Depot, but if you can't find these, no worries. You can also use 2 5-gallon paint stir sticks. I'm also going to be using 2 bamboo sticks, which I got on Amazon, and they came in a big pack, and 20 tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue the 2 14-inch wood together side by side, and I'm going to be using wood glue. This one's from Dollar Tree. It's a very strong and quick drying glue, definitely one of my favorite wood glues. I'm going to clamp it with some electrical tape, and while I give that some time to dry, I work on the blocks. I'm going to glue 4 blocks together like so, and I make 2 sets. Then I glue 2 blocks side by side, and I make 4 sets. And finally, I glue 2 blocks together end to end, and I make 2 sets of that. Next, I glue the set of 2 that's glued side by side on the edge of the 4 blocks, and I glue 1 on each end so that it looks like a U, and I make 2 sets of that. I apply some glue on the U's as well as on the ends of the 14-inch glued wood. I space out the U's to the length of the 14-inch wood, and I drop the wood on top, and it should fit perfectly. Then I apply some glue on the tops of the blocks, the 2 on the outer ends, and then I place the set of 2 blocks on top like so, and I do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to glue the bamboo sticks on top of the inner tumbling blocks, so I trim them to fit, and then I glue them down. Now I'm going to be adding some color to this, and I'm going to be making my own stain, so I do sand the areas where the glue may have seeped out, otherwise it's not going to hold the color well. But you can also pre-paint the wood before gluing. To make a stain, I'm going to be mixing this brown acrylic paint from Dollar Tree with some black and gray paint. The brown comes out a little orange, so the black and gray neutralizes that orange and gives the brown a darker and deeper color. I'm going to add some water to the mix so that the paint goes on more like a stain. So I brush the paint on, and then I immediately wipe it down to expose the beautiful wood patterns underneath. And because this is acrylic paint, this will dry pretty fast. I place some Dollar Tree vases on top, and this DIY is done. You guys, I am so thrilled to be the guest host for this month's 5 under 5 challenge, and we are decor duping. This challenge is hosted by 2 incredibly talented ladies, Missy from Crafty Cove DIY, who creates stunning farmhouse decor projects I know you will love, and Emily from Farm Charm Chic, and she does a lot of budget-friendly, high-end looking DIYs with a rustic and farmhouse style. So make sure to check out their videos and show some support to them, as well as the other amazing crafters in the playlist. Next up, I wanted to recreate the cement pedestal base hurricane from Kirkland's. So first, I wanted to find a glass that had a similar shape, and so I headed to Dollar Tree, and I thought either of these would work nicely, but I decided to go with a potbelly vase that flared out. For the pedestal, I'll be using this white pillar candle holder from Dollar Tree. I've had this for some time, and here's another one from Dollar Tree that you can also use. Now, I haven't seen any kinds of pillar candle holders at my local Dollar Tree lately, so another option would be to make your own pedestal for this DIY. You can make one using Dollar Tree's glass tea light candle holder and small glass bowl. Both of these do come in a pack of 4. Glue them back to back, and you have an instant pedestal. I'm going to paint the candle holder using these 3 chalk paint colors, Waverly and White, and Hello Hobbies, Cafe Noir, and French Linen. First, I'm going to paint the candle holder. I know it's already white, but I'm going to add some texture to it. So I add some baking soda to the paint, and I mix that up well, and then I brush the mixture on all over. And this will give the candle holder a nice cement finish. Next, I pour a small amount of the other 2 chalk paints on a paper plate. Using a damp paper towel, I apply the paint to the surface. You will want to make sure that the towel is damp and not soaking wet. So I dip the towel onto the paint and I make sure to dab out the excess so it doesn't go on too heavy, and I'm just going to dab onto the surface in random patterns. Now don't worry about it being too neat or precise, you just want to create an organic textured look. You really can't go wrong, and if you do go a little too heavy-handed in some areas, just go over it lightly with some white paint. Then I'm going to dab here and there the darker brown paint just to give it a little more distressed look. I do go very lightly on the dark brown, it's just a preference, but you can certainly go bolder with the dark paint. To glue the vase on the pedestal, I apply some E6000 around the raised area of the candle holder. You can also do a combo with some hot glue for a quicker hold, and then I place the glass vase on top. And once it has completely dried, I drop in a little battery-operated pillar candle, which I got at Dollar Tree, and this DIY is done. I wanted to recreate this stunning mango wood lantern from Pottery Barn. Now, I often stop by Pottery Barn every now and then. There is one about 15 minutes from where I live in my local mall. I love their decor, but I can't afford to shop there. So instead, I'm going to DIY. So for this project, I headed to Dollar Tree to pick up some wood items. I'm going to be using 2 of these hanging wood planks. They're about 17 3/4 of an inch in length. I will also be using this pack of hanging wall shelves. It comes with 2 small shelves, which will make the top and the base of the lantern. And 18 of these 1/4 inch square dowels. I got these on Amazon and they came in a large pack. I'm going to trim the wood planks to the length of the wood shelf. You're going to need 2 of them, about 6 3/4 of an inch. I'll also be measuring and trimming 2 to the height of the shelf, adding the thickness of the 2 planks to it, so about 5.5 inches. Now I do have a wider miter box and saw that fits this wood perfectly. It's the Stanley Deluxe clamping miter box. Otherwise, it's not going to fit most regular size miter box, so an option in cutting, you can score the wood several times with a utility knife to trim. To give the base of the lantern some height, I'm going to be using some tumbling tower blocks. I glue the blocks 2 at a time, end to end. I'm going to glue the ends of the blocks onto the corners of a shelf, and you just want to make sure the side of the shelf is flush with the blocks. So I glue the blocks on all 4 corners. Next, I apply some glue on the blocks, as well as the long edge of the shelf, like so, and I place the cut wood piece with the same length over it, like so. I make sure the sides are even, and then I clamp it a bit. And then I turn it over, and I do the same thing on the opposite side. I apply the glue over the blocks and the side of the shelf, and then I place the cut wood to match over that. I clamp just for a little bit. I want to give it a little time to bond before continuing, but this glue does dry pretty fast. And then I work on the shorter sides, and I do the same thing. I apply the glue and I place the matching wood over that. I use a little wood block to help push the wood together. Next, I'm going to glue 4 1/4 inch square dowels together to form a larger dowel about 1/2 inch. Of course, you can use larger dowels, but these are quite inexpensive, and once everything is glued and you sand the seams, they're going to look completely seamless like one large dowel. And look at that. The sides are so smooth. Then I apply some glue on the base of a dowel as well as on the 2 sides, which will go on the corner of the base. You can also squeeze some glue straight into the corner of the base, which will secure it even more. So once all 4 dowels have been glued down, I apply some glue on the tops and I place the other shelf on top. To make it more secure, I trim and glue some more square dowels, which will be placed towards the top of the lantern, wedged in between the larger dowels. So I flip the lantern over and then I glue the dowels in place, and this will make the top of the lantern look more thick. I'm going to add a little bit of spackle to conceal the holes. I'm actually going to paint the lantern light, so you're barely even going to see the holes once everything is done. And look at that. Even before painting, it already looks good. I'm going to paint the lantern with some white acrylic paint, diluted with a little bit of water, and this will give it a nice whitewash finish. So I apply the paint and then I wipe out the excess. I don't want the paint to be opaque. I do want the wood patterns underneath to be seen. So once everything is painted, I do go over some of the larger gaps with a little bit of spackle, and wow, what a difference that makes. Now I decided not to put a handle on this. I actually love the way it looks just like that, but you can certainly add handles if you like. And this gorgeous DIY is done. For DIY number 4, I'm going to be creating my version of Pottery Barn's linen wrap books. First, you're going to need to get several hardcover books. I had quite a bit in storage, so I pulled those out, but Dollar Tree does sell some as well if you don't have any. I'm going to wrap these in fabric, so I headed to Dollar Tree and I grabbed some colors that I like. I went with the blues and grays. Of course, you can also pick up some fabric at the fabric store. I'm sure you can get some really good deals there. So I unroll one of the fabrics. These are about 18 by 21 inch in length, and I iron it so it'll lay flat. I place a book on top, and I just want to make sure that I have enough fabric on all sides to cover the book. I like to have about 1 to 3 inches of excess fabric all around. While holding one side up, I apply a line of glue on the inner cover of the other side, and then I pull the fabric over, pressing down firmly while smoothing it out. And then I do the same thing on the opposite side, making sure to hold up the opposite side. You can also prop it up to free up your hand. You just want to make sure you don't glue too tight, which is what will happen if you glue it while it's laying flat. Next, I'm going to cut 2 slits where the back binding of the book is located, and it should be the same width of the binding. And I'll cut a slit on the top and bottom of the spine. Then I'm going to fold in a corner and hot glue it in place. You can trim out a little triangle on the corners as well. And then I just apply a strip of glue on the bottom and fold the fabric, pressing it down on the glue. It's like wrapping a present. I do the same thing on the opposite cover, folding the corners in and gluing the fabric onto the cover. Then I cut the slit so that it's just about 1/4 inch. I apply some glue and I fold it in half. And then I add some more glue on the binding flap and I just press the remaining fabric over that. Hold the book up and press down, and that will just straighten and smooth it out. And you can just continue wrapping however many you want. These are perfect for stacking and placing some decor on top. I really love how the simple DIY turned out. Pottery Barn has these beautiful handcrafted pillar candle holders, and I wanted to make a version of it for under $5. So I headed to Dollar Tree and I went through the glass and vase aisle trying to look for something that had a similar silhouette. For the taller piece, I was looking for something with some height. I wanted them to be on the more narrow side, not too chunky, so I did find a couple vases that I thought would work for this project. The smaller one was a little thicker than the taller, but I thought it would be just fine. Now to hold the candles, you can use the small glass bowls from Dollar Tree. They come in a pack of 4, but instead I'm going to be using the lids of these little round jars. I thought it looked perfect flipped over, and the little handle on top will fit nicely on the top opening of the vases. It's a little difficult to constantly open the lids, at least for these jars. It's a very tight seal, so I thought I would just use them for this DIY and use the jars for something else. So first I'm going to remove all the sticky stuff on the vase. I remove the flower decals on the smaller vase, and that easily comes right out. I do wash the vases and then I clean over it with some rubbing alcohol. You really want to make sure the surface is clean. I'm going to be using E6000 to glue the lids onto the vases. You can also pair with some hot glue for an instant hold. But I did have several DIYs going on at the same time, so I really didn't mind just setting it aside and letting it dry completely. So I applied the glue on the top rim of the vase, and I applied the lid on top like so. Now I can leave it as is, but I still wanted to add a little more height to it, so I went ahead and glued these glass bowls to the bottom of the vases. Now I know it changed the look compared to what I'm duping, but I really liked it, and I love the way it looked even more. I flip the vases over and I apply some glue on the bottom of the little bowl, and I place it on top. And this is going to be the bottom, but for now I'm going to leave it like this until it dries. Again, you can add a little bit of hot glue to expedite drying time, although I would still give it a little more time to dry because the pieces can still snap apart even with hot glue. I'm going to paint the candle holders and add some texture to it, so I'm going to mix some baking soda to some chalk paint. I'm using Waverly white chalk paint, but honestly you can use any white acrylic paint. I really don't measure the amount of baking soda, but you really can't go wrong. Just know that the more you add, the more texture you'll get. I'm going to apply the paint with a sponge paint dabber. You'll quickly get more coverage using these. As you can see, one coat and it's almost completely covered. I use a little paintbrush to get to those hard to reach areas. I also use a smaller dabber to paint the lids. Now I am leaving that little plastic sealer ring because I do like the extra height that it gives, but you can cut that out. I figured it's going to blend nicely anyways since the paint has some texture. Now the sponge gives a little bit of an orange peel texture, which is fine, but I did swipe here and there just to add a different, smoother texture on some areas. Next, I'm going to add some color using these chalk paint from Hello Hobby, French Linen, and Cafe Noir. I'm also using a damp paper towel to dab the paint on. You can also use a sponge. This one's from Dollar Tree, and you can just cut it up in smaller pieces. So I pour a small amount of the chalk paint onto a plate. Now I actually ended up not using the darker paint. I thought it looked just fine without, but you can definitely use a darker paint to add a little more dimension if you like. So I just dab on the paint in random areas with a damp paper towel. The dampness of the towel will allow the paint to blend nicely and will create a very natural organic texture resembling real pottery. It's such a very inexpensive and easy process to get a high-end look. So you just want to keep applying the paint until you like the way it looks. Once it's dried, I place these little battery-operated pillar candles from Dollar Tree on top, which are a perfect fit, and this DIY is done. Thank you so much for watching. I had so much fun creating these DIYs. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. And don't forget to check out Emily's and Missy's channel, as well as the playlist, which is linked in the description box below. Have a wonderful week. Bye!